All right, here we go. Now we're live. All right, all you freedom-loving boys and girls, welcome to Millstone Self-Reliance Group. I'm one of your hosts, Mark. Down there is another host.
Very tired, Blake.
A very tired Blake. He'll tell the story. And over to my right, your left. Gosh dang, stupid camera's always the wrong way. But he's been on many times before. The man, the myth, the legend, Clint from Nemesis Camo.
How's
Clint,
it going?
how you doing, sir?
Very good. How's everybody doing?
It's good to see you tonight, Clint.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I mean, on that note, it's November 4th. How are people doing tonight? You know, there was a reason I had that annoying I am Spartacus loop on. Well, I just like it. I didn't mind that first of that series they did that first season. But if you remember the story, I mean, ultimately, Spartacus is killed. The Romans triumph and capture him. But I want to bring it up because were they really ever defeated? Because at the very end, that I am Spartacus, that's what every one of them says. And they all go down together. So, I mean, it's never over until it's over, and it's not over ever until you say it's over. Yeah, they may have outnumbered you, outgunned you, and you're sitting there with your back against the wall. You can still win that battle in a different field, a different arena, in my opinion. Clint, as a former snake eater, was that just a stupid comment, or did that resonate with you on that freaking 18 series level?
Yeah, pretty good. And it's strange that you had that on there because I'm a little ashamed to say this. I had never watched the original Spartacus with Kirk Douglas. And I watched it about a week ago in its entirety. And with your statement or what you were saying, at the end, they all realize they're all Spartacus. So that's pretty much, they all figure out that their agendas coincide, and they figure out they all stand up when they're trying to find him and say, I'm Spartacus. And again, because we all seem to be in the same boat.
Blake, the Kirk Douglas, I think that was late 50s, early 60s. But on that point that Clint and I were just kind of doing, they were all slaves of the larger Roman Empire. Now, whether you like Roman Empire, but make correlations, it was evil. I mean, it was a completely different era. But if we take anything from that era and bring it to today's day and age, it's freedom. Like that whole thing, as Clint just said, why they all realize they're all peoples from diverse parts of what the known world at that point. But the thing that brings them together is there's tyranny, and they're all slaves, and all that other bullshit goes out the window when we got to be united. Blake, kind of see what I'm trying to set you up with if you want to run with it?
Yeah, no, I do actually, because it's one of the things that we've been talking a lot about in my local circle here recently is the imperative that not only is the Electoral College won by Trump, I'm not going to bash around, obviously, who I believe should be in. We see what's on there, and we've talked about it extensively, but it's also imperative that we see the popular vote won too. And in essence, if the popular vote is achieved, what you see is that I am Spartacus moment among the civilians of our nation, stepping up and going, enough's enough. Because there's the Electoral College is an antiquated system that doesn't work. It's not that argument that they try to use multiple times in the past. It's we the people said we're tired of this. We're giving you a mandate. Now please go be our Spartacus, if you will. We are all in this together. And I think that if you can accomplish that, which I don't know if it does happen, but if it can be accomplished, I think that it would probably be one of the smoother transitions, because it has a lot of people then have to step back and go, holy smokes, was I really wrong about this? So it's wishful thinking, I think, but I really do hope to see our little Spartacus moment coming.
I kind of want to bring it right back over to you, Clint. I mean, we only spoke very briefly today, and I apologize to everybody over here on Millstone. Over on Centerline, I was, my Thursday live from last week. I was all excited, going to do a Halloween thing, and I came down with probably like a flu. Remember remember, that shit before all the other nonsense, people still get sick, kind of thing. And kind of kicked my ass though through the weekend. I meant to call Clint earlier, but I touch base with Clint today. He was kind enough to come over here. I really wanted to have Clint come on so we could sit and talk about this. So Clint, just kind of going to what Blake said, you know, and because we didn't get a whole lot of chance to talk, but I don't want to ruin everything. But well, Clint, you want to just share with everybody kind of your perspective again that you kind of had with me this morning or this? Yeah, that was kind of late morning, early afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I guess you would preface it, you know, what do I think about how things are going? And, you know, I'm telling you, I can only ingest so much news, opinion a day. You know, I want the facts. You know, I like some of the opinion shows and everybody give me their opinion and stuff, but I pretty much have my own. So, but I've been trying to catch up on what's going on as this early voting has started. You know, it's been, I think that as please catch me up on this. Laura Trump is running the RNC. And I think you know, no matter what the rules are that are set up right now, I think they're doing a good job of playing within the rules that the Democrats have set up. And I mean, whether it be ballot harvesting or going out and getting these ballots or early voting, a lot of the different stuff that they're doing, I think fighting fire with fire has been a good idea because right now, from at least what I'm hearing is, you know, they're losing a lot of the Democratic push early, but we're catching way up. So they're seeing this paradigm shift of the last election. So, and with Trump out there doing, you know, 4 rallies a day, you know, he's hitting everywhere. He's hitting the battleground states. It looks good to me. And as we talked about, Mark, you know, there was a lot of scrubbing voter rolls and things like that I think in the last election were brought to a lot of people's attention as to how these things were going. And I think some, not all, some of these problems have been fixed. Some voter rolls have been looked at. There's a lot more oversight going on through the RNC. From my understanding, they've basically got a slew of attorneys now in each state watching the election boards. Again, a lot more oversight, at least what I'm seeing. It looks better. Of course, there's going to be shenanigans. We know the left has done enough questionable stuff at this point that they're all very nervous. So, you know, when it comes to getting a new DOJ in there and they really start going by the letter of the law, there's a lot of people that are a little nervous on the left. So I think things are going in a good direction. I'll tell you what, we've all been holding our breath for this next 48 hours. And I know we're not going to get election results in some states very quickly. It's funny, like Florida, big state like that, boom, they're saying they're going to have it that evening. And some of these states are going to string it out. But we'll sit back and see what happens. I have a better feeling about it than I did a month ago. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. That's optimistically optimistic. Blake, I want to bring it back to you for your comment, but I just want to add something that Clint just said. And look, for anyone watching this, you know, who's with us live, or if you watch this later, you know the deal. We're all adults. This is the adult table. You can have a different opinion. We don't have to agree on everything. I slightly disagree with these two guys, and maybe that's because I'm too much of a pessimist or something to that nature. But you know, maybe I'm a little too black-pilled, and you know, I'm glass half empty and they're glass half full. There's a whole variety of reasons. Doesn't make Clint wrong, doesn't make Blake wrong, doesn't make me wrong. Just means I have my slightly different opinion. And on that note, Blake, I want to bring it over to you. Something Clint said, and I kind of also had this with you. You and I have kind of argued about this a little bit. You know, Clint's talking about how a little bit more attention and attention or focus, you know, like, you know, people are starting to be a little bit more scrupulous. They're starting to call a little bit of bullshit, and that's causing the left to get nervous. Well, I don't think that pressure. This is where I slightly disagree. I don't think that pressure has reached anywhere near the punched in the throat type of pressure, a real world pressure. Like when you're in a real fight, it's very different from talking about a fight or watching it in a movie. In a movie, I don't think that pressure has gotten there yet. And the only reason I'm saying it is another thing that Clint just said. Donald Trump is out there on the campaign trail busting his hump. Kamala Harris just canceled a whole bunch of stuff over the weekend to go on Saturday Night Live. The side that should be nervous as hell is the side that's leaking. Don't worry, we got this. And that there's just something not right in that, right? So again, not saying Clint's wrong. He's seeing it it's looking, I'm not Clint, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't think Clint's saying we got this in a bag, right?
No.
Yeah, okay. You're just saying it looks like we've got a little bit more focus and a little bit more eye on that detail. It's going to be harder for them to kind of cheat or get away with cheating.
Yes.
Okay. Blake, what do you think about that?
I definitely think there is more of a concerted effort to try to keep an eye on what was called the fortification of the election in the last cycle. I just saw it just minutes before, and I haven't gone and actually read it myself, but it sounds like Georgia actually made it so that election day is election day. No ballots that come in after can be counted. I do know that shenanigans being done in other states. We are seeing some poll watchers.
Sorry to interrupt. Just got to throw it out there, but one of those counties, I think it's Fulton County, they had an email that came out. And so maybe to Clint's point, some of this is being leaked and it's being found out, but they had an email saying they weren't going to let any Republican vote watchers in when they were counting ballots.
And see, I haven't seen anything on that, but I wouldn't doubt it, because if we look at the 2020 election that took place, we saw this in spades. I mean, it happened in multiple places. We have documentation of it. We know that there was a lot of interference in those sorts of ways. So I think what it shows more than anything is that the lawfare is in full swing right now. We are seeing that political fight just taking place, and it's a dirty brawl. I think that because of the current state of everything that's going on, it is kind of a coin flip. I would like to think that, yeah, Trump's got it in the bag, but and I'd say in a true election cycle, if we were actually to adhere to the rule of law, that it would be something akin to Reagan-Mondale. However, because of the fortification effort, because of the games and the parlor tricks that are being played, it's anyone's game. And I don't know what happens over the next 48 hours. I'm not really super optimistic. I'm kind of sitting on the edge of the seat, just kind of, Clint, like you said, holding my breath.
Clint, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, and exactly what Blake was just saying. I think that, yeah, I hope that the left thinks that they have something, that's going to pull this off. And I'm not, like I said, optimistically cautious. I like what the Republicans are doing right now is they're taking it across the finish line at a sprint. I mean, they're pushing it out right at the end. They're not stopping. They're hitting battleground states. They're telling the conservative Republicans, they're telling them, don't get complacent, get out and vote. I'm hearing people say that if they haven't early voted, I early voted. Of course, I wanted to make sure I banked my vote. I got in there, had time, didn't have to fight and stay in line. And it was steady over there. It wasn't a long wait. And so, I was happy to get in, get my stuff done, and get out and say I did it. And be able to be prepared to help anybody. I've got somebody to help that going to go vote on Tuesday. And so get them in there and get them to vote. And, even my son looks like he's getting out to vote. I'm real happy about that. So, all hands on deck, no complacency, push it across the finish line. It's what we got, because the next step is throwing hands. And I would like to see it work. And I hope it's too big to rig. I hope it's too big to rig.
I think that's why it's so important that the popular vote comes along with this, because if it is one of those just overwhelming, the entire populace is like, I'm freaking done with the game, then they've got to really sit back and go, man, all right, it's not worth going the next stage. So.
Yeah, but that popular vote can be hard to accomplish simply because, and that's why the Dems or evil, I'm just going to say evil because there's Republicans who are evil as well. But that's why politicians want to get rid of the Electoral College and go to a popular vote, because what you're going to get is New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis, and that's going to suddenly dictate, what the rest of the country does. And we're not a democracy. I'm tired of and again, that just the simple fact that that's all we've heard about shows you how desperate evil is to convince or to continue to get people to be so complacent to really not even know your country's history and know your own form of governance, type of thing. So very sad. Hey, I want to play a little video clip. We don't really haven't done this any before. Well, we've done little stupid things here and there, but Blake and I were talking about this about 2 weeks ago, I think, and it somehow came into my mind. And so I just want to share it with you because this is, you may have heard me talk about dots on the wall, and the way the dots keep forming, and I'll get to this, I'm going to do it. If Trump wins, if Kamala wins, I'm just here to tell you, if you think Trump winning, even if that's who you want to win, and if you think Trump winning is suddenly going to make things better, I don't think you really have been paying attention to what the fuck's been going on in this country for the last over 16 years. You haven't seen the political wins and all the social wins, and even our financial wins. I think there's a huge struggle, even if Trump wins. I think if Trump wins, we can all take a day off, take, a breath and be like, okay, but we only have a chance if he wins. It's still no guarantee. Let me just share this video and this might make a little bit more sense. And simply because I'm a geek and I like this kind of stuff. So let me just share this. Let me just come back over here. I'm going to go to full screen on this if I can. There's full screen. All right, give me a second, boys and girls. All right, here we go. It's only 30 seconds.
You can see. The visions are clear now. I see possible futures all at once. Our enemies are all around us. And in so many futures they prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
All right. That's my little, let me come back over here. That's my little Dune 2 Paul Atreides seeing the path of the future after he takes the water of life. We're geeks over here and we like our movies and stuff. So we had to throw a little something in there. But to me, seriously, all I'm trying to convey. So to call me a crazy person, tinfoil hat, you call me whatever you want, but don't call me up and apologize when you suddenly 180 days from now, oh, I didn't like Trump, Orange Man bad. And 180 days from now, the pain you're feeling right now is exacerbated tenfold because the economy sucks. And the people who've created this environment for this economy, again, that's why I'm like, this is more than a 4-year-old problem. It's been incredibly exacerbated in the last 4 years. Unbelievable. And there's just as many guilty, swampy, rhino Republicans, who went along with this stuff. We don't have any fucking money. The inflation, government producing money, inflation, our deficit. We just gave not just that $458 million over a week ago to Ukraine. We just gave another $400 million. How many trillions of dollars have we given away? We just did all this stuff and people in America are suffering. Small businesses, dude, even big businesses. If you pay attention to any financial, left, center, or right-leaning financial institution, yeah, you'll have some pundits telling you this is the greatest economy in the world. Do you really feel that? Do you feel that? Are you feeling this is the greatest economy we've had? Are you honestly going to look yourself in the mirror and say, this economy is better than it was during the Trump era? Or you say, well, this, at least it wasn't, dude, I grew up, I was in the agency during the Obama era. I came home from a deployment once and I'd lost $40,000 in my thrift savings plan. You remember the housing market, Fannie Mae? Dude, this economy, we were just starting to get our heads out of our asses under Trump. And now we're in this shit show. Even if Trump wins, boys and girls, take that moment if that's who you want to vote for, if that's who you want. But it's got to be a combat deployment mindset. We've got to come into Blake's kind of thing. Blake likes saying it. He ain't wrong. A Great Depression mindset. I'll be so happy if 180 days from the election, this is saying 180 days from inauguration, from swearing in. If you are in a position, ladies and gentlemen, where you don't freak out about going out and having dinner with your family once a month, I hope you're in that spot in 180 days. All right. That was my ramble, boys. That's my kind of, if you're watching this live or on demand, if you haven't picked up what my thoughts are on just how incredibly fucked we are, no matter who wins. Again, I got a bridge to nowhere, I'll sell you, because if you think Kamala's it's going to get better. I don't even just, I don't think friends anymore, honestly. Like, no, what the hell, man,
Well, like we've talked about before, is I think if Kamala does get elected and does really, let's say what it is, appointed, because there was no primary for her. It was placed there. There was in essence a soft coup done against the supposed sitting president. I mean, this was very historic. Patrick, when we were working the other day, actually made a pretty funny joke to me, comment, I should say. And he goes, well, where's the October surprise? Where's the October surprise? Well, they've been happening since June. I mean, it's just been kind of nonstop. And so if Kamala does get appointed, I have a sneaking suspicion that what we're going to see is the start of this new machine getting kicked into overdrive. The infrastructure's there. We as a people have been, in essence, shaped and prepared to live in this new system for the last 10, 15 years. So I think that, worst case scenario, what we see is that machine getting turned on, and hey, we're in that steady march now to a totalitarian government where it's no longer a joke to say we're in a dystopia. We really will be living in one, or at least the opening preamble of one. If Trump gets in, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I mean, there's a very real chance of, with either president getting in, World War III truly going hot, multiple theaters opening up, crisis of goods, economy collapsing. I mean, this is a very real possibility with both of the presidential candidates. And more specifically with Trump, though, if we do get through that narrow path, like you're talking about with Paul Atreides, in that clip you played, it's a long, hard road ahead of us where we're going to have to keep this grind going. Really what we're doing is looking at righting the ship. That doesn't mean the voyage is over. Far from it. That just means we're not taking water in on the lower decks anymore. Our masts are maybe slightly repaired. We're limping along. And while we're limping along, we got to keep fixing this ship. And that's the thing is the hard work just starts if Trump gets in. It's the very beginning of a long, brutal road. But I'd rather have that road start now, so that maybe, our children don't have to mess with it. And that's kind of where I am now. It's what will be, will be. We'll figure out how to handle if the worst case scenario happens. I personally think that's falling in, creating the communities like we've talked about, pooling resources, helping each other out, and becoming, let's say, separate from their game, separate from their society as much as absolutely possible. But I hope that's not the realm we have to go. I hope we can just right the ship and try to keep on limping on and start rebuilding. So,
Clint, your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you, Mark. I was in a good mood and you put me right back black pill. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. As we've talked about this on the last few episodes, I agree with a lot of the things you both just said. As I've said, every time my thoughts are, we're coming to an intersection. And you look down both intersections and fire and brimstone and fire and brimstone. I mean, it's going to be rough no matter which way we go. I mean, it's like I prefaced that helicopter auto rotating out of a crash. You know, it's either, are we going to go down quick, or are we going to slowly come in? And it's still a controlled crash. But, and I agree with you, Mark. I mean, our financial house is in total disorder. We have the BRICS nations now all aligning: China, Russia, Venezuela, Iran, India, everybody trying to dump the dollar. It'll all drop at once. You know, it'll push us back into the 1920s. I mean, we're in bad shape. We're in bad shape, but we're gonna go down in a ball of flames if we don't even make it through this election and get somebody that has a squirt of piss of common sense. You know, we got to have somebody that's ran a successful business, not prosecuting people because their kids didn't go to school, or, you know, it's bad. It looks real bad. I'm hoping, like I said, that we come out of this with a possible outcome that's in a good direction, because one's real bad and one's kind of bad, and they're going to do the same thing. The whole swamp is going to go after Trump again. They're going to try all the lawfare. If he tries to drill, baby, drill. They're going to try to block it legally. They're going to this, they're going to that. And I think the one good thing is Trump has sat in that seat before. It won't be his first time. You know, he's going to walk in there and he's going to have to ask nobody nothing. He knows what he's going to have to do right out of the gate. And I hope that is put an administration in place with the department secretaries, and he literally tells them, if you even sniff impropriety, fire them.
Well, you know, and you see the left prefacing this, that, you know, again, we've talked about this multiple times. You know, when you're at this level of evil, you know, you have near limited resources. You're not just putting your eggs in one basket. It isn't just one battle plan. Part of the public relations psyops, you know, Clint and I have talked about the psyops stuff before, is just keep spinning the story that if we lose, he's going to put everybody in jail. So if the inevitable crimes are ever brought to light to the American people, well, yeah, people do need to go to jail. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who arguably have committed treason, you know, and that's a crime that's punishable by death. So, I mean, like, so, you know, you can see like, oh, see, he's going to jail his political opponents. No. This isn't happening because you're a political opponent. This is happening because you committed treason or sedition. You went against the Constitution of the United States. You sold out your country. You lied about this, or, you know, that's the world we're getting in. And so just kind of, I'm glad you guys brought that up, because I kind of moved past that mentally. Even when success, to Blake's point, there is so much struggle in this narrow path forward. It doesn't mean it's all rainbows and unicorns and ice cream cones. It's going to mean us, the us's in the world right now. We still got a lot of friggin' heavy lifting to do.
Well, I think it's imperative to stay focused on that, though, like, and not become black-pilled, because there is a pathway out. And even if, you know, we talk about this before, but even if the empire falls, you know, to use that Roman parallel, you know, doesn't mean everybody in it died. All right. What it meant was a fracturing of the nation. Multiple nations came out of that. New historical pathways were born. People did have a turmoil. Where they were, you know, basically did like we talked about, created communities, battened up the hatches and held out while there was that civil unrest. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but even if worst case scenario happens, as long as it isn't, I shouldn't say even if worst case scenario, because worst case scenario now in a modern technological society is total omnipresent control, big brother, every single aspect of your life is completely controlled. That's a huge concern. So that's the difference, I guess, than the fall of the Roman Empire, is where the fall of a technocratic civilization. So, you know, it could get bad.
And if I may, just to split some hairs, it isn't so when the empire fell, if evil wins, the empire is just replaced by the emperor, right? You know, like now it's Palpatine, you know, ruling the Senate. And, you know, and there's, I should have had that, you know, and this is how freedom dies, to the sound of applause. You know, those were shitty movies, but that was a good line. That is what I fear we're going to enter into. Like, No, the flag is still there. The infrastructure is still there, but it's now just ruled by Palpatine. That's
Well,
what we
then,
got.
if we're playing with that scenario, then it's the death of the early republic in the Senate, and it's the birth of the first American imperium, the true embracing of the empire of, okay, now to and arguably that is a historical pathway that a lot of nations will take, is when facing huge economic crisis like they are right now, but have the military might to be able to expand and conquer territory, is the gloves come off and they just become a true empire. So that is possibly one of the iterations we could see come out of the nation, but again, probably highly dystopic in the nation for the actual civilians themselves. Typically, if you were a civilian, like in say Rome, you had access to some pretty good stuff and you had a pretty decent life, even if the rest of the world's boot, or if Rome's boot was on the rest of the world's throat. In this potential scenario, you'll see that imperial sort of reach, but the citizens will be just as less as those that are being conquered.
A point you've raised, and I want to bring this over to Clint on this, but just to add to that, that's kind of my point. As Clint was saying, look, the chopper is going to come in just spinning completely out of control, or we can get some auto rotate in there and, the pilot can get on the stick and it's still going to be hard landing, probably broken bones, back injuries, maybe a fatality, but most of us might make it out of it, as opposed to we're all going to die in a fiery, a flaming ball of JP4. But like, to your point, total censorship. This is what you have to look forward to. And because in my humble opinion, evil has no choice but to put its boot on your throat and go all in if they can pull this off, because otherwise they won't have the control, right? Otherwise you can't give the insurrectionists, you can't give the freedom-loving people time to start figuring out how to combat even this new system. So you're going to look at central bank digital currency. So I wrote that, was writing this down, and then you brought it up. Like, you're going to look at total censorship, and the type of censorship that we already have. In the last election cycle, somebody made a meme about, hey, just text in your vote. Jimmy Kimmel just went on and said, hey, if you want to vote for Trump, do it on Thursday. One man went to jail immediately once the new administration came in for making a joke. Another guy just did it on national television. And that same administration who jailed one guy isn't saying fucking shit about what Jimmy Kimmel just did. Or, an NBC knew they were in trouble for bringing Kamala on Saturday Night Live. So they had to give Trump a quick spot on NASCAR the next day. And then Blake, kind of so I just kind of said, jailing your political opponents. This administration that's all about supporting democracy, go do your own research. Bannon just got out of jail. There's so many people on the Democratic side who had been so much more in contempt of Congress, and not a single one of those people went to jail. And they even kept Bannon in jail longer than was necessary. We got grandmothers for January 6th insurrection. So the writing is already there. They're telling you, when they say Trump is going to do this, they're giving excuses for what it is they are already doing. And I'm sorry if I'm getting loud. The speakers or this mic is really good. I probably can tone it down a bit. But bringing it over to Clint, this is what I fear is going to happen. You'll have 180 days. Honestly, here, I'll just make another stupid prediction. And this isn't original. Other people are thinking the same thing. Who thought of it first? I thought of it one day when I was taking a shit. So maybe they were doing the same thing too. Joe Biden, they already soft-cooed Joe Biden out of there. Blake, to your point, if Kamala Harris wins the election, Joe Biden will resign. She'll take over the presidency before January 6th. Clint, bringing that over to you guys to chew on. Central bank digital currencies controlling all your money. So there you can't do anything that we don't want you to do. Total internet censorship. They're not coming for your guns, boys and girls. That's not going to be the first step. It's controlling our ability to speak with each other and controlling where we can spend our money. Because what have I just done? And this is why I want to bring it to Clint. I have just isolated all of my objectives. I've isolated my enemies, and I can deal with those things one at a time. Clint?
Whew, wow.
Sorry.
I start on that one.
It's good for it, though.
It's some of these agendas, are so big, the censorship thing is so vast and widespread right now. And I mean, I'm sitting there watching. I was born in Missouri, so I'm a show me guy. So I mean, I don't believe nothing until I see it. I mean, that's just me. So I mean, I sit and I listen to what's being put out on, on the news or whatever, the clips that I get. Unfortunately, I watch entirely too much stuff on the right. I catch the clips of the crazy left, and I listen to that stuff, and I'm still flabbergasted that we have this many people that in this country that think that way. I mean, to still have them just constantly putting out every day that this race is neck and neck blows me away. How we could be this divided down the center, and that sliver of that percentage, the undecideds and the independents down the middle. And it's funny because you watch that, and that's the one area that they're all focusing on, is trying to get that on those undecideds the center, and all they got to do is just a tick mark to the left and the right is going to decide this whole thing. But Trump, I'll tell you one thing, he's like water wearing down a rock with this fake news. Every freaking one of these things that he's going to, out there talking and pointing out the fake news. And I think they're pretty scared too, because they're gonna die a quick death if it goes to the right on this election, because they've already lost so much viewership, because a lot of people just don't believe them. So
Blake, I don't know if you want to jump in that, or Clint, if you want to keep going. I mean, so again, there are institutions that know. So there's, imagine when it's like in their shoes, they're afraid because they see a paradigm shift. Legacy media, as Clint just pointed out, they have been knee deep in this shit for a long fucking time, very partisan. And if Trump does win, and what they did with the Joe Rogan interview and how they try to hide it. Look, I mean, Clint, I agree with you 100%. Legacy media, if Trump wins this election, legacy media as we know it, the old media, it's gone. I don't see how it recovers from this, honestly. Blake?
Well, I think no matter what happens, the world's changing. And I think that's a big part of what we're experiencing right now, is growing pangs of a new society or a new civilization or a new paradigm shift or zeitgeist or whatever Overton window nonsense you want to say. There's a change that's taking place. And when that happens, the old has to die and the new is born. And there's a struggle that takes place. When it comes specifically to the media, legacy media, we've been seeing their death throes now for 15, 17 years. We've seen that transition where they're trying to update to a more of a social media presence and reach out to the young kids, as it were. But I think when we saw Trump sit down for a long form 3-hour conversation, and then the next week Vance sit down and do 3 hours and 17 minutes or whatever it was, that was a very big switch, because for the first time the American people were able to actually listen to a candidate and not just be through the lens of a legacy media interviewer that was either asking softball questions or it was pre-set up and there's commercial breaks. This was just a conversation. And
or the Leslie Stahl, sir.
Right.
God, how
right.
embarrassing. If you worked there at 60 Minutes, I mean,
yeah.
How would you not be embarrassed?
But that's there's been some
Clint?
people.
Hey, go ahead, Clint.
No, I don't mean to interrupt Blake, but I mean, he's exactly right. And you're seeing the death of this scripted media. You can have somebody that's not on a teleprompter sitting there and understands these problems, and they can off the cuff sit there and have an intelligent discussion that is unscripted, and it's like, hey, this person understands this. And I mean, when they put those clips of Kamala and her being spoon-fed every line on a teleprompter goes off and she freezes up like a deer in the headlights, you're like, she has nothing going on up there.
Yeah,
people are getting it.
She's mastered the art of the filibuster. Like, if you listen to what she says nothing. I mean, and she's really good at saying nothing for a long time. And that was actually one of the points Vance brought up towards the end of his interview with Joe Rogan was, what would someone like this be like in these high-level diplomatic exchanges with foreign leaders? When the chips are on the table and we're actually talking about tariffs or we're talking about war, things like that, is she going to be able to like throw away the filler words and actually get down to brass tacks? And quite frankly, I don't think she's capable of it. And so, oh, go ahead.
Let me throw one thing on you. I want to see if I say this and it'll change your thought on that. You said she's good at the filibuster. She's good at saying nothing. I argue she's not good at saying nothing, and people are starting to see it.
And I would agree. Like, my point more than anything is she can just say 3 minutes worth of bull crap to say something that would take 10 seconds.
But to Clint's point, she's not doing that intentionally to filibuster.
Mm-hmm.
She's not even smart enough to say,
exactly.
I'm just going to put together some gobbledygook. Clint, is that what you're kind of alluding to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I agree with that.
They can see she's running circles that's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So if we're to believe
hang
this
on,
story,
I just got to do it. I got to do it real quickly because Clint just said they can see her brain running in circles. It's Peanut. It's Peanut the squirrel on a little wind or treadmill in her brain, running around. Hey, by the way, here's the Peanut the squirrel. I don't care who you are. That was some bullshit right there. Not to distract us, but.
Well,
Clint
that
made me
was.
think of it with like the idea of a gerbil just running on a freaking
But yeah, no, Kamala. And that's the thing is, quite frankly, I don't think she has the mental fortitude for the position, even if she was operating at full capability. I mean, there's a story going around. I don't know if it's real or not. My guess is it's probably not. But it was when she was in school to become a prosecutor, and she before she took the bar. Supposedly her classroom had taken a IQ test where everyone took an IQ test, and she was all excited that she got, I think it was like an 82 or an 83 on her IQ test, and everyone was giving her kind of a weird look like, why are you telling us this? And supposedly the next day she came back and was like, I was having an off day and I was making a joke and all that kind of stuff. I was like, man, I don't know about you guys, but what was the name of that gorilla? There was it Coco? There was a gorilla that was tested at like 96 for an IQ. So
I think that was Coco.
Yeah, man. So like, potential world leader of the supposed most powerful nation on earth potentially has less of an IQ than a gorilla.
Well, that story sounds more of like a meme and just
I think it's
urban
a meme.
legend because, but to your point, and then bringing it back over to Clint and, his kind of, I don't think she's filibustering. I just don't think I don't think she's capable. So bringing it back to you and Clint and to anybody, I mean, like, if this is an election, if the future of your country is going to be decided on, you don't like mean tweets or orange man bad or feelings, again, man, then we're just really fucked. Because to me, like, to Clint's point, and Blake, you made the point too. I guess that's why I'm bringing it back over to both of you guys. If this was a fair election, I mean, and there was only American citizens voting, and it was one person, one ballot, and they were truly counted, I think this makes Reagan and Mondale look like, a 10-round fight. I mean, seriously, I think this is like hands down, you're going to get some people who just don't like Trump. Oh, he said mean things one time. But if we had a real media that showed, seriously, and this is my point, we don't even have a real media. Everybody hated Kamala Harris during their, going back to 2020 during their primaries. She was obliterated. Biden, these aren't my words. I'm not being a sexist or a racist. Biden himself said he's going to bring on the first black female president. She's a DEI hire. I mean, like, I didn't say that. He fucking said that.
Let me jump in, please.
All right. Yeah.
This seems to me like, and I'll preface it, a football game. You come in and the quarterback goes down, and you go get the reserve quarterback and say, did you read the playbook? And they're like, yeah, I read it. and then you throw them out there, and you're like, you got all the cheerleaders are on your side, all those fans are on your side, you got this. And then they go out there on the field and they throw the football in the wrong direction, for an interception, and everybody's looking at each other going, what did we do? That's Kamala Harris. They had this whole plan. They had all the deck stacked, and she's an idiot. Every time she goes out, every time she goes somewhere, she can't read the playbook. So there is a large portion of those undecideds. We already had all the right, but that right down the middle, they're looking around going, okay, man, she's a blithering idiot.
And that, as I bring this over to you, Blake, that should scare the living shit out of people, because it means one of two, maybe three things, but off the top of my head, I can come up with two things. Maybe there's the third thing. So maybe the deeper, I was going to say that she's a puppet and somebody else behind the scenes is really going to be running the show, which, probably Obama. But then the scarier version of that is there's, again, there really is this other, thing that we don't know about that's really pulling the strings. And that goes into something, Blake, that I know you and I have talked about, and you really like that dystopian 84 kind of world. But then the final one, which was going to be point two to Clint's kind of comment, did we really just elect Forrest Gump? I mean, is she really that dumb? Like,
I at least
I'm
like
on the
Forrest
record.
Gump.
And that was bad for Forrest Gump. I was a bad analogy. But what I'm just saying is a blithering idiot who doesn't even understand, do you really think Kamala Harris with the I'm talking, do you think that's going to work with Maduro or Kim Jong, or Khomeini or Xi or Putin? Dude, they're just going to look at her and get up from the table and walk the fuck away. Ain't no one going to listen to that girl and take her seriously. So this person, for whatever reasons, this is a huge national security, not just for our country and our fellow countrymen, but for the rest of the fucking world. This could very easily, or on that note, I don't know if she's got we hear all these rumors about how mean she is to her staff. I'm on the record of saying this: if Hillary Clinton would have became the president, I mean, look what she did in Libya. But if she would have been the president, I mean, you get people who overreact, right? Somebody punched you in the face. That doesn't mean you burn their house down, right? It's got it. Not in international affairs. I mean, unless that's your policy. If your stated policy is the moment you even punch me, I nuke your country. Well, okay, that is walk softly and carry a big stick, but that's not how it really works. I really also fear that Kamala Harris is the type of person who, at any slight provocation or international issue, conflict or tension, is going to overreact. And then that's going to take us into an inescapable, yep, now it really is World War III and there's nukes flying. So I'll shut up. You guys take that one.
Well, I think that to the point is, if she does get elected, I think she is that puppet. I mean, and that's the idea. She's a tabulous rasa. She's keep her drunk, keep her pilled up, whatever, and she's just going to do whatever you tell her. I'm afraid that that's at least the thought process behind her, because it does seem more and more like our nation is ruled from the shadows. So I do have a big concern, no matter who gets in, that we're going to be looking down the barrel of a hot World War III. Really, honestly, at this point, I don't know, man. I've gone circles and circles. It's just we're now in the home stretch. All of the campaigning's done, all of the bull crap's done. It's just time to sit back and watch the circus for a week. So,
whoever threw that comment up, is that about the reptilian thing?
Okay, that's one of our viewers from over in the UK, and his name is Gene. He's made that comment once or twice on
a lot. I would love to talk about the reptile stuff, but man,
but that's reptilians. Yes, Clint, that's all about the reptilians.
All right, just because whatever, we've talked enough about the for now. Let's put a little hook in them. But have you ever heard the story of Kyle Odom, Clint?
No.
No. All right. So
is that a rabbit hole?
Oh man, yeah. I probably shouldn't have even opened this one. But Gene, you're gonna love it. I'm sure you probably already know the story. But Kyle Odom this is actually probably one of the most compelling stories about in the whole reptile theory. And man, sorry, I did some air quotes there. Kyle Odom was, I believe, a Marine Corps vet, honorably discharged. Believe he had some PTSD. Definitely had some issues, but he was based, I think, out of Colorado Springs. And I'm talking about real people here, so I got to be kind of careful. He believed Tim Remington, who is now a senator or was a senator. I don't know if he still is, can't remember where. But anyway, he was a pastor out of, I think, Aurora, Colorado. And Kyle Odom wrote a manifesto stating that he was being stalked by reptilian individuals that were based out of Tim Remington's church, and that Tim Remington himself was a reptile, and that he was basically using his position for nefarious purposes inside of this whole order that was trying to take over the world. Well, he wrote this big manifesto. He went to the White House. He then threw his manifesto over the White House's front lawn during the Trump presidency. He wasn't arrested. I don't even think he was detained. Don't quote me on that part. He drove back to Colorado, and then on a Sunday morning went to Tim Remington's church. And when Tim Remington was walking out of the church lot, I think it was a Sunday morning, it might not have been, but Tim was coming out and he saw Kyle in distress. Kyle got a pistol out of his pocket. It was a .45 ACP. The police report says he shot, I believe, Tim 5 times with a .230 grain jacketed hollow point at basically point blank range. Tim Remington was then only in the hospital after one minor surgery for I think it was a day or two, and then he was discharged. One of the shots hit his head. He basically made a full recovery. I don't care who you are, 230 grains that close, hollow points, you're toast. It's not going to happen. He went on to become a senator. Then the Kyle Odom case, this is where it gets really weird. If memory serves me correctly, he came up for trial, and the judge deemed that Kyle Odom was completely sane, that he was not an insane individual. No, there was some really weird stuff. Dig into the case a little bit more, but this is one of the big pieces of a lot of the people that look into reptile stuff going, hey, this is one of those weird cases. What's really interesting as well is Kyle Odom drew the supposed shape-shifting reptile in his manifesto. Looks suspiciously like a slee stack from Journey to the Center of the Earth. But what's also interesting is it happens to be a very similar depiction that's seen on multiple different continents by multiple different ancient civilizations around the earth, depicted as their rulers in their ancient mythology. So, it's the one, I just find it fascinating. I don't subscribe to it, but it's one of the few conspiracy theories that is truly omnipresent across every single ancient civilization on earth.
I just did while you were talking. I just went over to ScrewTube and just typed in Kyle Odom, and there's a lot of you could
you watch all sorts of stuff.
You could go down a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's a big rabbit hole. Like the whole reptile theory in general is friggin' crazy. For anyone listening, if you do like this stuff, there's a band out there I really like that's called Periphery, and they play a lot of jank metal. It's really heavy stuff, but with some interesting vocals. But there's a song called Reptile that's like a 17-minute long story about a guy named Billy who just likes to get high, and when he got high he could see the reptiles, and then he starts a war against the reptiles, and it's like this big ballad of reptile. It's ridiculous. So if you like it, check it out. But
yeah.
All right.
Hey, so on that note, and Blake, and you got to bounce here in a little bit. Blake is got daddy duties. We got a little bit of housekeeping, but I want to bring it back to Clint for Clint's final comments. Clint, wherever you want to go, whatever you got here, sir, as we kind of start wrapping it up. If you want to talk about the reptilians, we can do that too. Whatever you want to do, man.
I don't know enough to even talk about that. I have to go investigate that one a little bit to even be a worthy conversationalist on that.
So Gene just talked about the miniseries. Remember V? That was all about reptilians.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was in the 70s. So
it was, and then they made a remake of it as well. But yeah.
Well, and then there's They Live with Roddy Piper and Keith David, one of the best movies of all fucking time. But all right, Clint, take comments. What do you got for us, sir? We're going too far down the reptilian hole.
I feel like I've lived a pretty interesting life. I've got to go a lot of places, do a lot of things, meet a lot of people, live a little dangerously. But I'll tell you what, the way I look at things, I like to keep things kind of drama free. I like to do the right thing. And I do look at people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the gal on the Republican side, but Cheney, Liz Cheney. I look at some of these people and I just wonder, what kind of human being sits there and weaves these kind of webs?
Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, when and if you got to answer for your deeds, you better watch out. You got to live on the right side of things. A little smart, a little common sense, doing the right thing for the community. And I mean, I sit back and watch this stuff and just think, man, I hope this is a self-correcting land nav course, because there are a lot of people that are evildoers out there, and I really don't know what gets into them, the evil that gets into these people, that they're doing this stuff. They're playing with humanity, the Faucis of the world.
Yeah. And just some of that stuff is just so sad to talk about, but it's the harsh reality. And that is the world we are, that's the terrain upon which we're currently deployed. And whatever, if you want to use football or combat, analogies, metaphors, or whatever you want to do, but that is the world we're living in. And I think, to Blake's point, really the best that we can hope for right now, that one little singular path, it's still going to be full of hardship, but we can work together and pull this off. But so what Clint's just point right there, but one of the ways we pull this off, in my humble opinion, from one of my closing comments, is everybody he just mentioned, it's both sides of the aisle. None of these people give a shit about any of us. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Grassley, none of these guys. I mean, seriously. We are cannon fodder to these people, Liz Cheney's, and is evidenced by all the fake lies. Like, oh, you said, he didn't say shoot her. He said she's a fucking, a warmonger, a war hawk. And what would it be like if she had to go and put on a uniform, right? Like, I mean, look, I'll give you my opinion on Friday. Clint, I don't know if you want to give your opinion right now. None of these mother effers are ever going to put on a uniform and put themselves in harm's way. That's not who they are. They're not going to do that ever.
Yeah.
There's not enough money and personal wealth and fame, and status for these. That's what these people want. They are lizard people. I don't mean that literally. I mean that in a figurative. Don't anyone sue me. I'm not calling them lizard people. Not even saying I subscribe to that, but heckle fish ain't wrong. I'll just throw that out there. For those who know, right? So heckle fish ain't wrong on that. Clint has no idea what we're talking about right now. He's like,
it's a channel called the Y Files.
No, don't tell him. Don't tell him. Clint's just like, why did I agree to come on this stupid podcast again? Why did I do this? Clint's like, I'm a glutton for punishment. I must be. Clint, give us one last comment, and then I'm going to come to Blake. And then, Blake, if you can hang on, but if you got to go, and then with your permission, I'm going to take us out on what the game plan is. Let's go to Clint one more time, because we're talking too much shit and talking over him. So let's let Clint have a good kind of fun comment here.
No, we're good. I mean, like I said, I just positive vibes out, sending it out, try to get everybody out to vote, try to do this the right way, the way that this constitutional republic is supposed to work. Get out there, vote, get somebody else to vote, live a life that you people want to listen to what you say, and you lead people and try to get them to do the right thing. Because, at the end of the day, the bad stuff, I got kids, I want to live a peaceful life. I've seen enough of not living in peace. And I would just hope that we can do it the right way, elect somebody that has the best interests of this country in mind. And it takes a person that's with a little critical thinking to be able to figure that out. So that's what I got.
It's pretty damn good. Amen. All right, Blake.
Yeah. Man, honestly, I don't know if I could say it much better, Clint. I really do hope that this is smooth. It'll be interesting to see. You know, we're going to have a lot better idea of which way the wind blows here pretty shortly. Also, another great reference to Iron Maiden, which, Mark, by the way, Iron Maiden's going to be back on tour soon. It's probably going to be the last time we should really go see them. But anyway, so we'll see which way the wild wind blows, I suppose. And hopefully we're all here soon, so we can keep on pontificating on the internet about random things that for some reason you guys find interesting. But if not, we'll send up the smoke signals, and we'll do it through smoke signals at a distance if they shut the power off, I suppose. So,
well, I'll grab that and run then. So here's my final comments. And I'm going to screw this up a little bit, but I think this is Lenin who said it. Yeah, I'm about to quote a communist, but doesn't take away if it was even Lenin. But, you know, and I'm going to screw up the quote, but like we can go decades in which there's nothing significant historically that takes place. And then we can go days in which decades worth of history take place. I think that's where we are right now. I think all of us, Blake has said this in the past, we are in a moment of history right now. Which way that breaks, I have no idea. When the Roman Empire fell, not everybody died. Some people did die. There was a lot of hardship and turmoil. There was a lot of hardship and turmoil and death before the empire collapsed. We're in that moment. And, you know, so for me, kind of final comment is we are in days of days here right now where I so hope I'm wrong, but I just don't even know like what kind of conversation we would have come this upcoming weekend. I mean, there's just there's too many possible freaky outcomes right now. Clint, I saw you kind of gesture on that one. Do you agree or disagree with that, or want to add to that little thought process?
I'm sorry, I was squirreling on that for just a second. I was actually looking. I went to see Iron Maiden in 1983 on the Peace of Mind tour. It was really
hell
good.
Yeah.
Thought I'd put that out, show my age.
Awesome.
Hey, gotta like Maiden though. Gotta like Maiden.
All right.
And then Blake. So on that note, and then ladies and gentlemen, and maybe we can get Clint on board on some. I didn't really say this to him. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but Blake and I have been figuring this out. Like, and so we've got a game plan going forward. We've been having fun. Here, this really started off. We were going to look more on the training and the educational side. And then just, the world we live in is the world we live in. And we've been talking about this. This is part 5, the final episode of the Hands Inside the Ride, because, we'll just see what happens starting tomorrow, and put your hands in, I guess, put your faith in, or put yourself in God's hands at this point, because whatever happens on the other side of this is going to be the world we're in. I mean, whether you like it or not, and you're going to have to figure out ways to survive and adapt to be in it. And what Blake and I are talking about doing is, because look, for me to survive, I've got to focus all of my attentions over on centerline systems. That's how I keep the lights on, right? That's how I pay bills. And that's tough to do in a shitty economy. So I've got to focus my energies over there. Blake's got a business to run, and he's got he's not only does he have a new kid, but he's got a wife to deal with too. And I'm here to tell you, she's probably got more of a problem dealing with Blake than Blake.
Oh yeah. 100% in that one, man. I married a saint. What she thought getting with me is just, I got the lucky end of the stick. Well, I'll just leave it at that.
but on that point, you see where I'm going. We're all busy and we all have things to deal with. So what Blake and I are deciding to do is, and just to keep it simple, stupid, the first Monday of every month, Millstone. So pretty easy. Yeah. It's an M word. First Monday of the month, Millstone. We're going to do a Millstone episode. That's what we're going to do going forward after this, because there's really nothing else we can do right now. It's, it's out of our control. Go out and vote. I mean, that's the control you have. But if they steal it, or if there's a war, or whatever happens next, I mean, it's going to be on each individual to make up their own mind and their own thing. So starting, Blake, you said that's the 2nd of December.
Let's see here. Yeah, I think
I got it. I'll look it up. So, but Blake, it's the 2nd. So the first Monday of every month going forward, as long as there's still an internet, we're not censored or arrested or whatever happens, we're going to teach a class. I mean, we're not 100% sure. Blake and I will talk about this offline. You know, I mean, whether it's handgun related, whether it's cooking related, whether it's surveillance or surveillance detection, you know, high speed, but we're going to start doing something. Matter of fact, and just to let you know, and one of the things I didn't get a chance to, because I wanted to talk to Clint about this last week, I was going to actually show in the beginning of this how you can communicate messages innocuously, right? So if the censorship really starts happening, and we'll do this in an episode, I will teach you how to communicate with people. And it doesn't matter if anyone else listens. Now, there's pros and cons to all that. You know, that person has to know the code. Well, how do you know the code? And there's all kinds of risks and everything that goes with face-to-face meetings. So you can have that training and discuss it. But there are ways in which you can start being prepared. And that's really, and there's a litany of subjects, but that's what Blake and I are thinking of doing. And that's going to be the first Monday of every month going forward, starting on the 2nd of December. Blake, you want to add to that, or Clint, any comments?
Well, I don't really have anything to add to that, but unfortunately, I do have to bounce. I've got a sick son right now, and I got to go get him picked up. So, if you guys want to keep chit-chatting a bit more about it, Mark, that's great, but I've unfortunately got to run. So,
all right, I know you got to bounce. And by the way, Blake is on like almost zero sleep because his kid, you know, anyway. Last week,
well, okay, real quick, I'll give you guys an anecdote story.
But I just want you to see AVV's comment here. If you saw his comment.
Yeah, no kidding.
Close to dark times, praying for the best possible outcome.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. And I'll give this quick little story because it does kind of deal with what we were talking about. But so last night, my son he was miserable. He didn't want to sleep in the slightest. Screamed worse than he has since he was been born. I mean, it was just a really, really rough night. Well, I go over to take him to the grandparents in the morning to watch him so I could get some work done. And my mom grabs him and goes, "Oh, what's that smell?" And smells his ear. And she goes, "He's got an ear infection." Well, sure as heck, he had an ear infection. So got him over to the doctors, found out he had the ear infection. That's why he was screaming and everything. So I slept maybe an hour last night. Well, anyway, I was going to go vote today because I just wanted to get it done because tomorrow I'm busy as hell. So I'm over there getting ready to vote. And I realized, I'm like, man, I'm an idiot. I forgot my license. I can't vote without my license. And my buddy Pat, and I'm with, he's like, "Nah, just try, dude. I'm pretty sure you can." I was like, "It doesn't matter if I can. I don't feel right. I got to do it." But I was like, in the same breath, I was like, this is probably the one time I'll forget my license. I should just see. So I went up and I told him, I was like, "Hey, I don't have my license with me. So do you guys need me to run home and get it?" She's like, "Nah, don't worry about it. Fill out this piece of paper, put in your last year social, your address and your name, and we'll see if you're in the registry and you're good to go." Well, sure as heck I was. So they gave me my ballot and I was able to vote without an ID. All right. Well, so anyone that knows my last four of my social and where I live can just go vote for me. Yep. I mean, this is the ludicrous nature of our voting system. It should be one day, one paper ballot, and one day to count it. I mean, that's how elections are done the world over. It's how we used to do it. Like, why we just allow anyone to go in without the proper identification is beyond me. So that, anyway.
Go to a liquor store. Go to a liquor store. Forget your ID. Oh, your phone is doing that reverb again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, but Blake's point. Well, I'm going to let you go, Blake, because that's
I got to go, guys. Y'all have a good night. We'll see you.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Yeah. It was good seeing you, Clint. Have a good one, buddy.
All right. So as Blake kicks off there, but to Blake's point, go to a liquor store and say, "I forgot my ID," and then have the cashier say, "Well, that's fine. Just give me your full name and the last four of your social security number." Come on, man. It's just, it's so beyond preposterous, Clint, in my opinion. I don't even like talking about it because it's so obvious. Like, it's childish. Go sit at the kiddie table. Really, no ID to vote. We all know what you're up to. The shenanigans have to stop, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And like we spoke about, Mark, you know, I mean, because of the last election, there was enough people going, there's some suspicions that things went on here. There's a lot of indicators that are not, you know, jiving. They're not gelling here. There were some states that went in and started fixing some statutes, laws, oversight. There was some correcting that went on out there. Enough? We don't know yet. Was it enough correction on enough of the voter, regulations that we're getting that people will find that faith in the elections again. I guess the thing I'm feeling good about is you're seeing record numbers coming out. So that is showing that people still have enough faith to go out and cast a vote, because I think the Zeitgeist, the collective consciousness is, this is our last chance before things get bad. So a lot of people are coming out and trying to play within the rules, and I mean, I hope it's enough. Like I said, I can get pessimistic and I can get optimistic and think yes, no, but I hope so.
Well, so boys and girls, if you were in the military before or any of that kind of stuff, you'll understand what I'm about to say. So I have a very different feeling than Clint, but that doesn't mean you don't go in the fight with your hands up and start throwing punches and doing your best. Like, this is not the type of fight to just say it's done. I personally think we're royally fucked. That's me, but that doesn't mean you give up, right? It's never over until you're dead and in the ground. And at that point, I mean, technically, if you're, hey, I'm Spartacus, well, maybe you just won, a victory into that next realm, whereas your opponent, he's going to hell, type of thing. So there's still ways to pull victory out of the jaws of defeat. Republicans are good at pulling defeat out of the jaws of victory, but so I don't really have a good feeling going into this. I got a bad feeling. I'm like that guy in one of the movies, we always like, I got a bad feeling about this, but that doesn't mean you don't jock up, kid up, get your gear on and get out there and give it 100%. And so I agree with Clint on that. And I hope the next time we see everybody over here on Millstone or even over on Centerline Systems, I hope everybody can have a good laugh at my expense. Honestly, I will be the first person to eat crow. I want to be the first. I want to be the person who eats crow on that. So, Clint, thank you as always for coming on. Thanks to everybody who, we had, I don't know the numbers, but thanks for the people who watch live. Another reason we're kind of moving on. We're just so busy and we haven't done this channel justice. I mean, we really haven't. We're not really doing anything on Instagram or X, Twitter. We're doing the videos. We're not trying to gin up. I mean, half the time we're working until like 5 minutes before we go live. So I apologize for Blake and myself. I know I can speak for him on that one. But we're going to do better. And that once a month, I think, is going to give us a little bit more of an opportunity to put together a better product for you guys going forward. And also our hearts are going to be in it because, if I'm right, well, then you're going to want to start learning some of this stuff in earnest, and if I'm wrong, well, you still need to learn this anyway, because that Great Depression mindset, you still better learn how to bake your own bread and whatever, because it ain't going to just be like a light switch and then suddenly it's better and it's unicorns farting rainbows the next day. That isn't how the world turns. And I'm so happy to have Clint on tonight because I know he knows a lot of this and has seen it and lived it too. It's like, it's a lot of hard work, man. And, but we're so close to being on the cusp of a third world country, Clint. I mean,
we are.
Wow.
It's weird that sometimes I feel, that matrix facade, I go out every day. I mean, I've seen it a lot worse. You go outside and it's a lot worse. There's still people, this country's on autopilot. People are still moving around. They're doing their things, but there's all this nefarious shit going on in the background. And I hope it doesn't, it's infected a lot of stuff, but I hope it doesn't take us down.
Yeah. Amen on that. All right, boys and girls, thanks for watching. We will see you on Monday, the 2nd of December. So again, at the very end of this, and I'll have to do some type of things. The first Monday of every month going forward is Millstone. First Monday of every month, that's Millstone. So if you've been following us, check out our new schedule. I'll just give one last plug for my business, Centerline Systems. I'm going to start having some of these type of conversations, but in a slightly different type of setting. I'm calling it Cialis After Dark, and that's going to be on Fridays. And for somebody like already right now, I heard a snicker someplace. CLS, Centerline Systems, CLS After Dark. I don't know what the hell you thought I said, but we're going to have a little bit of fun, and we're kicking off the first one this Friday. And I definitely want Clint to be on here at some point too. But this Friday is with a very dear friend of mine, who is overseas with me in in the psychic wars, if you want to call them that. And it's going to be an interesting conversation because I think I'm going to finally start talking about shit I've never talked about publicly. So DB. But anyway, so join us on Thursday on Centerline, 1700 Central Time. I got to say Central Standard Time. Enough of the fake bullshit time. That's finally done. Thank Lord Jesus. But 1700 Central Time, Centerline Systems. We're going to be talking about rucksacks. And then 1700 on Friday is the first of our Cialis After Dark episodes. And with my buddy DB, and we're going to sit and have it on there. And I definitely want to get Clint on. God, I feel so bad. I feel like I'm ambushing you halftime. I never even talked to you about that, but I got a feeling.
Go ahead.
I got a feeling you'll be okay. You'll either be able to do it or you'll be like, yo, go pound sand. So,
Yeah, I enjoy coming on and chatting with you guys and reaching out to some people and, a little food for thought.
There it is. All right, everybody. We're at 1:15. We went a little bit long, but kind of our last of the weeklies. We'll see you on Monday, December 2nd, first Monday of every month. Go Wolverines. I'm just going to end it on that. Go Wolverines.
Stay frosty.
Stay frosty. Go Wolverines. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching the live stream. God bless. And let's hope we're all making fun of me on the Monday, the 2nd of December. All right, everybody. Be good. We'll see you again soon. Take care.